Hi. Psalm 3 was written while David was being pursued by his son Absalom. You can read about this in 2 Samuel 13 through 18. His son wanted to be king. Well, he wanted to kill his dad so he could be king. He'd persuaded a lot of people to rebel against his father. And he led the rebellion. And David fled. Not because he was afraid for himself. He was afraid his son would be killed. And he ordered his men, don't kill him. Don't kill him. Well, that didn't work out so good for Absalom. That's the story in Samuel. Feeling all alone, though, as David's being pursued by Absalom and his army, David turns to God as his shield. And this is a good psalm to read when you feel like everyone is against you. You got financial issues, marriage issues, health issues, job issues. If you feel all alone, David understood that. Nothing was going right. Everyone was against him. But he'd been in tough situations before, and his biggest problem at this time was just he didn't want to have his son killed. Let's look at Psalm 3, verses 1 and 2. God, I have so many enemies. So many oppose me. So many of them are shouting. God will never help him. Oh, can you imagine that? David, who loved and worshiped God, tried to be obedient, even though he failed. The Bible tells us that. Now he's on the run and people are mocking him, saying God will never help him. To them, it even seemed like God had abandoned David. Have others mocked you because God wasn't intervening on your behalf? If you are a faithful believer in Jesus and you truly make it clear that that's what your life's about, sometimes it'll feel like even God abandoned you. And others will tell you that. Yeah. Well, keep reading, though, because in verses 3 and 4, we begin David's response to them. He says, oh, my God, you are a shield around me. You are my glory, the one who lifts my head high. I shouted to God, and he answered me from his holy mountain. Thank you, David. God is a shield for everyone who trusts him. Totally trust him. Absolutely trust him. Completely trust him. Or in the words I like to use, positively, absolutely trust in him regardless of circumstances. David called out to God, and God answered. And so David in verses 5 and 6 says, I laid down and slept. I woke up in safety because God keeps me safe. I will not be afraid, even if I am surrounded by 10,000. Oh, I was worried so much I couldn't sleep. But David said, I appealed to God and I could sleep. Because he trusted God. God gave him peace. You know, like the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace. Oh, David had no fear. No matter how many surrounded him, no matter what the circumstances were, he didn't worry. He didn't fear. I don't worry. I don't fret. My God has never failed me yet because I've got confidence. Do you understand his lack of fear? It is there for everyone who believes in God. All you've got to do is ask. In verse 7, David asked God again, come, God, rescue me. Oh, my God. Hit my enemies right on the jaw. Shatter their wicked teeth. Oh, I'm sure we've all been there. Yeah, God, you don't want me to take revenge. Why don't you do it for me? Knock them flat. Shatter their teeth. David wanted God to absolutely destroy his enemies, and we can all relate to that sometimes. However, do not forget that God said in Deuteronomy 32, something near the end of the chapter, that he's the one that takes revenge, not us. And David concludes this psalm with verse 8, victory comes from you, God. Let your blessing be on your people. David not only recognized that his victory came from God, but he also asked God to bless his people. David never forgot this. His own subjects were God's people. That's a lesson every minister, every serious Christian leader should never forget. You serve God's people. That's what the word minister means in Latin. It's a Latin word. It means servant. Psalm 4. One of David's psalms that was written for public worship with stringed instruments. I mention this more than once in Psalms, but it always makes me wonder, what would that music sound like? It's made for stringed instruments, or this one's made for harp, or this one's made for a pipe, and this one's made for a drum. What would the music sound like? Just my enthusiasm for the culture of the Bible people. But here, King David's writing about his faith in God. As always, this psalm contains some good advice. Verse 1, he says, please answer me when I call for you, my righteous God. Help me out with my problems. Have mercy and listen to me, please. All right, not much I can say. David seeks God when he has problems, as should all of God's people. Moving on, verses 2 and 3. How long will you troublemakers continue to attack my reputation? How long will you lie? Listen, God protects his faithful servants, and he will answer when I need him. Only after asking God for help, in verse 1, does David question those who mock him, who lie about him. He tells them, God will protect me. How much do you trust God? Do you wait until there's no other option before turning to God? A lot of the times we do. Or do you seek him first in everything you do? That's what we should do, people. Oh, yeah. Verses 4 and 5, David says, don't let your anger control you. Think about your problem overnight and keep silent. Offer the sacrifices with the right attitude and trust in God. Oh, King David tells his followers, don't lose control of your emotions. Specifically, he was talking about anger. Anger is a very dangerous emotion. Anger left uncontrolled can grow and grow until our body trembles and our mind loses the ability to think clearly. King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes 7:9 that uncontrolled anger makes us foolish. Yeah. When I was in my pre-Christian days, I enjoyed fighting. And if I could antagonize someone until they were so angry they couldn't even think, I knew I had won. Didn't matter how good a fighter they were. If they were so angry they lost control of their mind, they were already defeated. And that's what anger does to people. Even if you're not doing a barroom fight, you get so angry I could just scream. And everyone knows you aren't thinking very well. You know what I'm saying? Well, David recommended if you get angry, remain silent, get a good night's rest before dealing with your anger. Always good advice. Of course, in Proverbs, is it chapter 2, I think, or chapter 2, I think, says the old proverb that mothers like to quote, don't let the sun go down on your anger. Good advice from marriage counselors, but good advice for anyone. But David here says, don't let your anger get a hold of you. Get a good night's rest and then deal with it. Situations, different. Proverbs, Psalms. What fits is deal with it. Don't let it control you. You know, Paul wrote in Ephesians chapter 4, near the end of the chapter, he said almost the same thing as Proverbs. When you're angry, don't sin. Don't stay angry overnight, or you're going to give the devil an opportunity to come against you. Yeah. Don't let anger control you. Psalm 4, verses 6 and 7. Plenty of people wonder who will bring them prosperity. Please, God, bless us. Make my heart filled with your joy beyond abundant harvests. You know, Ecclesiastes 1:9 is a favorite verse of many people, preachers, ministers especially. There's nothing new under the sun. Yeah, whether we're talking about one generation rebelling against the older generation, or saying the older generation doesn't understand us, or whether we're talking about people wanting more, or people fighting war, because they want more. People lying, cheating, stealing. There's nothing new under the sun. And verse 6 reminds me of that. Because plenty of people wonder who will bring them prosperity. Well, it was true in King David's day, and it's definitely true today. Everyone wonders how to become wealthy. Inheritance, a lottery, a lawsuit against a big corporation, or whatever. When David asked God for his blessing, I just don't believe he was asking for prosperity. I don't. He'd been wealthy, and even though he was running for his life, he asked God for his joy beyond everything else. Do you think the Apostle Paul was thinking about this psalm when he wrote Philippians 4:12 and 13? I mean, Philippians 4:13, people love it. If I go with the NIV, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I had to remember it. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And that's kind of what David's saying here. But Paul also wrote in verse 12, and people ignore this one. They're taking verse 13 out of context. And I think Paul might have been thinking about Psalm 4 when he wrote verse 12, where he says, I know what it means to have nothing, and I know what it means to have wealth. I have learned how to be content with no matter what, whether I'm well-fed or hungry, whether I have everything I need or absolutely nothing. I can do everything through the one who gives me strength. Oh, people. David, he wanted joy. He'd had the money. Probably still had the money. For all we know, he was king. Verse 8, when I go to sleep, I am safe, because you will keep me safe. Oh, do you tell God that every night? I know I'm safe. I know I can sleep because you are my God. You are my protector. Can you imagine the inspiration David was to his followers? That he could sleep even when his life was in danger? That shows a great amount of faith in God. And here in verse 8, he concludes by saying about the same thing as he said in Psalm 3, verse 5. He says he can sleep because he trusts God. Oh, may the Lord bless you. May he give you his peace and his joy. May you feel his love overflowing your life. Let him be the one you trust in. Amen.